Jen Corcoran, Haley Hillsland, welcome to the Backdrop.
Thank you so much. How exciting.
Very
Founders,
thrilled to be here.
founders of Grueter Golf. It's good to have you guys on the Backdrop. I was just on the Low Expectations pod, which I think needs to be rebranded to the High Expectations pod. I followed at least the episode I listened to just before getting on the pod was Daniel Kang. I have not had that caliber of guest, but you guys are close. So I appreciate you coming on this side of it.
Hey,
high
absolutely
praise.
anytime. And in terms of the expectations, our expectations remain low. The
For
the
everything.
the second line of it is really high hopes. So you keep your hopes high, keep your expectations low. That's when the magic happens, right?
As I was preparing for this pod, I read, I think it was a Golf Digest article that Haley, you were quoted in. Is that where the low expectations quote came from? Is that why it was beautiful? I can't remember. What was it?
I honestly forget. I can look it up quickly, but yeah, no, I think I was referencing girls coming to our events and not really having any expectations whatsoever. And so that's where the low expectations line was born. And then when we were tossing around ideas for the name of the podcast, we really tossed just about everything out there, a lot of which had already been taken by other golf podcasts that we were not aware of. And then we circled back to the low expectations line, and it sort of just stuck because, as Jen says, the high hopes, low expectations more or less describes exactly who we are as people, as a brand, as golfers, just about everything.
I love it. I love it. Well, it was a blast. I love being on the pod. It reminded me that we needed to get you guys as guests of the Backdrop and cover some more ground because I didn't get to ask you guys very many questions. I tend to talk on the other side of the mic, so I'm happy to dive in today, get to know you guys a little bit better, let our members and our audience know you guys a little bit better, and learn about Grueter Golf. First, I wanted to ask about Sweetens. I didn't talk about that. You guys told me what was that, spring, you were getting ready to make a trip. Did it happen? What was it like?
So yeah, in the fall actually, and it happened very quickly. It was actually inspired. Sweetens, obviously, anybody who plays golf and knows anything knows about Sweetens at this point. It's like the darling 9-hole of the golf world, and everybody's obsessed with it. Very, very Instagrammable, very photographed, and actually we got an email from No Laying Up that they were opening a share house there, and that was right on the first hole, first green. And just that night we were like, let's just go there in October. This was also, all year, I feel like everybody, if anyone's anything like me, you've had like lots of travel daydreams throughout the COVID pandemic experience. Every week I'm like planning a trip in my head or literally looking up flights, looking up itineraries, etc. And this one, luckily had a few people that said yes to it immediately. And then we're like, all right, let's just book it right away. We'll bring the wives and, have ourselves a nice little weekend down there. And it was unbelievable. Yeah. Gotta give a shout out to No Laying Up too. That house is the perfect location. Beds are very comfortable. Decor is
Very
tasteful.
clean. It's all good. Yeah. You're right off that first green, like you said. I think our only regret looking back was that we did book late October. So we were pretty limited by a way of daylight. And so, our window for playing golf is pretty small. We had some weather issues that actually kept a third of the course closed, which honestly did not stop us at all. Like we love it just as much as we would have if we did have all the holes to play with. We didn't get to take advantage of the tee box that's in front of No Laying Up's house, which then goes onto the first green there. So there are a lot of things that will be bringing us back to Sweetens Cove at one point or another. But even that first go around with all the weather and not issues, but not still being at 100%, we're still just every bit in love with it.
Yeah, there's something magic about it that you hope people bottle up and take to the course that they're building next. Just because the spirit of Sweetens is what attracts, I think, all of us back. After you experience. And you guys, you told me last pod we did together that you prefer 6 holes. I thought, didn't somebody say that
6 holes is the magic number? That's what, the 666 option. That's, we talk about our dream golf course a lot. And that's kind of, like a clover where you have, not just one turn, but 2 turns 2 opportunities to use the bathroom, grab a drink, grab a hot dog.
Mhm.
You know, just I think that, and it's hard too. Like part of, I think our magic is that we really remember what it's like to not play golf and not to know what you're doing. And, you know, when you're staring down the barrel of, you know, a 4.5 hour round, when you're a beginner, like that's really intimidating.
It's very
So I think it's
daunting.
much more palatable to say, you know, break it up into a little over an hour, you know, 6 holes, and then you can continue on or stop or, you know, leave a person or whatever.
I'm going to have quite a few questions because as I was, preparing to talk to you guys, that you're closer to that beginner phase. All of us were beginners at some point, right? And the ones that can remember it are probably better off than some of us. But I think a lot of people listen aren't, and they're gonna. I have a lot of questions for you guys about being, in that early stage and what that was like. So we'll get to a lot of that. But I have a crack research team now at the Bag Drop. Okay.
Eleonora?
And Eleonora, my daughter, she's 3 months, but man, she can work the Google machine better than anybody.
So impressive.
So Haley, I'll start with you. And I like this one that we dug up because my wife loves to laugh when I say I went to golf camp as a kid.
Oh,
And she just is like, I didn't know there was golf camps. Like, who are these golf nerds going to golf camp? And she just thinks it's so funny. But I think this is correct that you actually did go to golf camp. And not only did you go to golf camp, rumor has it or legend has it that you won the 9 and under division. Is that accurate?
so I have to come clean a little bit. Like I say that rumor has it because I don't remember that at all. My mom told
Haley
me
doesn't remember any of her childhood. It's really
I don't
weird.
like it's really concerning, and I hope it doesn't keep happening because I still remember most of college, but
That's
as
a
I get
miracle.
older. Yeah, exactly. No, so I do vaguely remember being at golf camp. I remember hating it. I remember because I remember like being at the pool and then having to like go get changed and like go play golf, and I just was so annoyed by all of that. And I remember hating the outfits that I wore. I honestly don't think I did it more than one summer. Like it had to have been like a one go. So the rumor of me winning is purely rumor. My mom told me that, and I don't believe much of what she says. I do, but
It was one of those loving mother moments of just trying to build her daughter's confidence. And
yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I should probably fact check her and go back and make sure that is true. But it was a nice way to plug in some, background on the website as far as my bio goes. But yeah, I had a very quick relationship with golf as a younger kid. And like I said, just hated it for all the reasons a kid normally hates golf, or, the pace of the game, how slow it is, it being, an individual sport. I was used to team sports. And then I would say the outfits, I always fall back on the outfits just being horrible and having to like makeshift my Abercrombie and Fitch polos and Gap khakis into something that was appropriate for the golf course. And I hated it all.
do you think, and I know you don't remember a whole lot of your childhood, so I don't want to make you relive these dark memories, but do you think that if that stuff was different, would you have been hooked, or you think, you as a kid just would have been like, nah, even if they wore cool outfits and I wanted to, would it still have been a blocker for you?
I think it would have helped. And I also think, because I grew up around golf. I wasn't, people in my family did golf. Although I say that with like a heavy asterisk because my mom had a set of clubs that she kept in a wicker golf basket. So her golfing was
Sick.
not
That's-
really true golfing.
That's kind of like super woke now, I think. If you walked out to like a, ringer event, wear it with a wicker bag, I think people would.
She doesn't have it anymore, and I'm so upset about it because I have a feeling I would get good use out of it nowadays. But yeah, I grew up around golf. I grew up around plenty of people playing it, certainly people that wanted me to get into it. So yeah, I have to assume that the clothes would help. I also just remember hitting it off the tee box and it not going in the air and just being so frustrated at that, which, I re-experienced when I was 25 years old and even today sometimes. So, I think it's a combination of all things that deter people away from golf, clothes being, a big factor for me personally, but, it's a whole bunch of different things.
Right. So the 9 and under division champ, will that be on your resume? Is that a life achievement award? Like,
yeah, I'm going to keep it there.
Yeah,
As
okay.
long as no one's chasing me down and saying I didn't do it or I didn't actually win. For all I know, I did. I'm just trying to think of like trophies, you know, you got trophies for everything as a kid. And I'm trying to flash back to the trophies that I did have. I was like, was a golfer up there? Because I feel like I would have had one of those, and I can't picture it.
All right, Mom. The fact
so
checkers
yeah.
are coming, Mom. I'll put my team on the case. Jen, transition to you. Should the Buccaneers retire Tom Brady's jersey?
Oh, do they deserve to? I mean,
What if how pissed would you be if he gets into the Hall of Fame and he, shows up wearing that Buccaneers number instead of the Patriots?
He wouldn't. I mean, the thing about it too is that there's just so much.
He looked pretty happy on that boat. I don't know.
I mean, well, also I loved seeing him blacked out. That was something we
Was
never
he
got to
actually
see.
blacked out,
He
though?
was completely legless.
Well,
there was a
there's speculation
video
that he actually wasn't drinking.
Well,
He said
then
he wasn't drinking.
then he was
actually,
on
you
Quaaludes
know-
because he was not standing well.
somebody had a really funny, it might have been Katie Nolan that said like, I remember my first nightshade, and that made me laugh a lot, that like maybe he wasn't drunk, maybe he just like snuck a tomato behind Giselle and like that kind of just fucked him up, messed him up. Are we
Had
allowed
1
to swear
gram of sugar. Yeah, you can curse. It's fine.
Yeah, it could have been that. I mean, it could have been a lot of things. Like he has a very delicate consistency at this point, and I feel like any one thing could throw it off.
Yeah.
His whole, equilibrium is just.
He's the most pliable person on earth at this point. He's constantly getting massaged. Did you guys watch Tom vs. Time?
Oh yeah,
No.
of course.
Oh my God. It's a quick watch. It's maybe like 36 minutes all in because it's these 3-part series on YouTube. And I'm not even kidding. Like 80% of the footage is him getting massaged by that man. Is it Alex Rodriguez? Alex something?
I don't know.
His
who it is.
TB12 guy.
That's
The
like his
TB12
guru
method
out there, right?
just means that you can't feel your joints anymore. You're like completely Gumby. That's the TB12 method.
Oh, it works. It works.
Clearly.
But
It's a feat.
Who wants to live that life? All those titles. Give me sugar, man. I would much rather have a glass of wine.
I couldn't. I obviously I can never do it.
What you did do, so you didn't grow up as a golfer, right, Jen?
I didn't, but it was always there.
You worked at a golf course, is that right?
Yeah. So I worked at a golf course beginning junior year in high school. I was at the Snack Shack. And then by college, I graduated to the Snack Cart, beer cart, which was where it was at. A sweet job. Really loved it. It really suited my skills, which are talking to people and driving to some degree. But it was funny because working there too, obviously, some of my family members played golf. Actually my younger cousins all went to golf camp, which was like a day camp where they did, golf and tennis. It was like a classic, like country club camp, that I never did, but I never like looked like something that I should pick up, even though the driving range is right there. I probably could have gone. But again, it was similar to what Haley said, the ball never went in the air the few times that I did try it. And I hated being bad at things when I was younger. I like did not know how to not succeed. I wasn't great at everything either, but I was at least like good enough to get by at everything else except for golf. And so I was very big on saying like, if I'm not good at something, I just don't do it because what's the point?
Yeah.
Which is the brattiest thing to say.
Well, no, with other sports, you can get away with not being that good, but because golf is a solo sport,
Yeah.
you're
You
up
can
there on
run
your
your way
own.
out of anything. If you're fast,
Exactly.
you can just like do something. You can be useful in some sort of way. But golf, it's really just you against yourself out there. And that was tough when I was younger,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so last question, probably from your childhood. River Dance or Lord of the Dance? What's your preference?
River Dance. Oh my God. Lord of the Dance was way too flashy. That's an easy one, Matt. You got to really throw some tougher punches here.
Yeah, but what about technique though? What about like technique? Just so remove the outfits and just go with technique. Lord of the Dance is probably superior, right?
Well, no, because so technically, do you know the tale of Lord of the Dance?
Not
So
really. No. Please
Flatley,
enlighten us.
Michael Flatley was the star of Riverdance, and then he had creative differences with the producers, and then spun off because he was the big name of Riverdance. Spun off into Lord of the Dance,
Made
which was
himself a lord, which you can't do.
Exactly,
You
like
need
made
a
himself like
queen in
this.
order
Like
to do that.
it had a little different. It had like a different plot too that was more like about him. Riverdance is supposed to be like an artfully told story of the Irish people. You got the Spanish in there, you got like the Coming to America portion. You guys all know every single act in Riverdance, right?
Yeah.
Lord of the Dance. Actually, I don't even know if I ever even saw it because my mom was like, Lord of the Dance, no, it's not. It's too much theatrics, not enough
worth your time.
dancing. I think they like made out on stage or something. It was a little more racy too.
Ooh.
Technique in both of them is obviously phenomenal, but the one thing that I think people get wrong about, traditional Irish dance, hands are not on the hips. Hands are glued to your sides.
Right.
Like your triceps would be essentially like glued to your back, and that's how you are the whole time. Hands behind, you can't see the hands. Hands and fists.
It is like I talked about we talked a lot about Ireland on your show, and yeah, to see it live is remarkable. Like, I don't even think cameras pick up how fast their legs move. If you're watching a YouTube clip, you got to see it. And I think it's the contrast of how fast the legs are moving and how still everything else is. Like that's what I've been.
It's unbelievable. I wasn't even, I mean, I never became a world champion or anything, but
Not yet.
There's still time. I think that's the Grueter Golf lesson, is that there's still time for anything. Never too late to start. But yeah, it was very, very difficult and builds leg muscles for your entire life. I think. Am I saying too much?
I was going to say, Matt, were you expecting such a
very long answer for the river dance question?
You don't see people doing Irish dance with weak, hamstrings. That's just not. It's not possible.
Because you can't. Talk about not getting up in the air. You won't get up in the air if you have any weakness in your body. Actually, we had Irish step camp.
Oh, there was
about weird dorky camps.
Another dorky camp.
You would go for a week. This guy Terry would come over from Ireland, and he would run like an absolute like Irish dancing boot camp. We would go home. We wouldn't be able to walk when we got home, and our mom would send us back the next day. It was insane.
That's fantastic. I would that's the camp I want my kid going to on the golf side. Like, I want have you guys read Golf in the Kingdom?
No.
Chivas Irons. Put that on your list. Okay. It's like a spiritual adventure through the Lynx land. But there's like this really romantic / super Scottish character. That's everything he says is like written in Scottish brogue. And that's what I want at my kids' golf camp. Like, I went, it was just some country club, pro who didn't want to be there and was just throwing down alignment sticks. Like, I want my kid to not understand what this Scotsman is barking at him.
And you need to be a little scared too, or else you don't get better.
No, you don't get better. That's right. That's parenting 101.
I was terrified of Terry.
We've covered a lot of early childhood. Obviously, you guys had, so I want to know the point where Jen hangs up the Irish dancing shoes for golf shoes. And both of you guys, like, you had these traumatic experiences with the game. I mean, let's call it what it is. Like, it's not a glowing review of, my first, I have a lot of podcast guests that talk about, man, my first time on the golf course, I just knew I was in love. That is not your guys' story.
Not at all, no.
So tell me a little bit about where you do fall in love with golf, because you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now if you didn't.
No, yeah.
I think we got to start playing together in order for us to like it, And so it was more about, spending time in a respectable way too. We could tell people later on, like, oh, we were out playing golf today, instead of like, oh, we went to a bar all day, which prior to playing golf together would have been the answer. Usually 9 times out of 10.
Just for the listeners, we were 24, 25 when we picked it up. So, we were in that weird age post college, but like just when we were supposed to start getting serious with our lives and our weekends, like the weekends were supposed to be productive, but like we were still going to bars the whole time. And so, it was like, it's that really careful transition phase into, like Jen said, being respected in terms of like what we spent our weekends doing. So it was a great way to sort of like blend into that like mid to late 20s era where, we can't come and say, oh, what'd you do this weekend? And work on Monday, we can't say like, oh yeah, we were out drinking all weekend. Like, that's, you kind of get raised eyebrows and they're like, and what else? And you don't have anything else to say. So the golf was, a great way for us to segue into that chapter in our lives. And then we obviously fell in love with it. So it was a win-win for us.
Yeah. And I think a huge part of that too was that we were all at the same level, which was bad. And so I think it's really difficult for a brand new golfer to go out with people who are pretty good and pretty serious and look at them and see what they're doing and then not be able to replicate that, especially if you're an athlete or if you have any sort of pride. It's really hard to see everybody else do something and you just be like, what is going on here? Like, why? I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I'm watching them, I'm doing that, and it's just not working. But for us, it was like, if you made contact, that was sick. Like we were all cheering, we were
We'd
going
applaud
nuts.
each other.
Yeah, like really, like very positive reinforcement. And then if it didn't go badly, I mean, if it didn't go well, then that was anticipated, right? And so we're all like, whatever, we'll play from someone else's ball, like it's no big deal. And we were outside having fun anyway.
Right. And I like getting back to the podcast episode, we had no expectations going out there together. We didn't go out there thinking that we'd all of a sudden be really good. I think we all knew that we'd be bad for a period of time, which getting back to our childhood exposure to golf, like Jen said, I think we all hated being bad at anything. But when we were bad at it together, it was a little bit more bearable and palatable. And, we were able to keep going out there and keep getting better without, wanting to give up and quit the sport.
So do you think it was critical then that you had the support system of other, not because it really, you guys weren't hardcore beginners, I think there, it sounds, maybe Jen, you might consider yourself a hardcore beginner. Would you?
I felt
What
hardcore.
do you mean by hardcore beginner though?
Like all scratch, like Haley, you grew up around it. Jen, you worked at the golf course. Like,
right.
What I mean is like, you didn't have to learn terms. Maybe you didn't have to like the whole language to it.
No, honestly, didn't know any terms. Didn't know really anything. Honestly, when I was a cart girl, I thought golf was really dumb. It looked really dumb to me. And also, we were more familiar with kind of like the bad parts of golf, I would say, like, like wife jokes, for example. You go to any card shop and you see like a funny card with, those like very fat, weirdly shaped people that are the cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like, like just some sort of joke about like, like, oh, my wife thinks I'm on the 6th hole right now. And he's like sitting at the bar. And it's like, that is like not a very welcoming, like humor. And then also, I mean, I was like, didn't really realize it too much at the time, but being like preyed upon as a cart girl a lot. I was, and now seeing all these like cart girl jokes and everything on Instagram, I understand like I was the butt of so many jokes whenever like, one of the guys in the group was talking to me too much or something like that, like to me was just like, this is my job. This is what I'm doing. Like I'm literally
16,
paid to
I'm not
serve
thinking
you.
anything else.
Yeah. Like I'm 18 years old. Like you are like married with children. Like it's just like a weird vibe out there. So that we never saw either, like women our age playing or saying, no one said to me like, hey, like you should try this, or if they did, it was creepy and it was from like an old man. And I was like, hard no, not going to say yes to anything that you say.
Even the term cart girl, right? If you really think about it, someone said this to me the other day, actually. And I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, I still use cart girl. That's kind of ridiculous. Like that's the title of the job, it's like cart girl. There's no, why can't there be a cart boy? Why is it girl at all? Why is it cart woman? Like what is it? So and then it just gets bad. I mean, you go, God, the cart girl, I'm relating to both these on the guy side because I still every freaking birthday and Christmas, I'm a golf nut. So people get me golf things. And now that I'm married and now that I have a daughter who you may hear yelling at us in the background, I get these like chintzy gifts that are kind of like making jokes about my wife letting me out the door to go play. Like one was a golf, get out, leave family. And you have to smile at the person, like, hey, thanks. But I'm like pissed inside. Like, you think my wife and I don't talk about me playing golf? Like, it's agreed to every freaking time. Like, right. You're nuts. So a lot of that stuff, man, so it drives me nuts. I can't even imagine what it must have been like seeing it as a woman.
Yeah, it's just a weird narrative. Like, why is marital discontent like part of the brand of golf? Like why are we laughing at that? Right?
Right. Like it's an overarching theme that has not shifted or gone away. Like you see these meme accounts on Instagram that have hundreds of thousands of followers and likes and whatever. It's like golf has not moved past it at all. It's not like it's stuck to greeting cards from the 90s. It's very much still in your face. In a lot of ways, it's
yeah, and if you say something about it, you get attacked sometimes.
Yeah, that's also true.
People
that has happened.
really pounce on you and then like reverse, like You know, it's weird when people get offended about you getting offended about something. It's like, you can't get offended at me getting offended. Like, I was offended first. Like, you can't then be like,
These are my feelings.
You know,
it's just, the internet's terrible sometimes.
I had a thought that popped to my head. I'm going to run with it. It might not make any sense, but like there should be cards that make fun of the person that thinks making fun of their marital stress is, you know, funny. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like,
There's a
it's,
market for that.
there's a market
we
for that for sure.
collab?
I would buy that. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. Like, you know, like that stereotypical member who, you know, is telling, or even like the sexist and racist jokes, like that person, whoever that person is, like, I make fun of that person, you know, like, like I'm sure there's other people that do too. And that could be on a greeting card.
I like that idea.
We'll put it through R&D and decide if it makes the cut.
Okay.
I want to know about what you guys, as early golfers, what you appreciated about being a golfer, like in that early time that you didn't before, you know, before you dove in, metaphorically, before you dove in, like, was there things that you just couldn't get your head around, and then you started doing, you're like, oh, I really appreciate this. Like, this makes sense.
For me, I think it has to do with obviously being in my 20s. You know, many years have passed since my last attempt at playing golf. You know, one of the things I appreciated most was just the opportunity to be outside all day. I picked up golf when I moved to New York City, which doesn't seem like those two things would go hand in hand. But I loved an excuse and a reason to be outside of the city and be, you know, surrounded by grass, which, you know, is hard to find in New York sometimes. And I was also new to the city. I had plenty of friends there, but it was also a nice way to hang out with, you know, people for 4 or 6 hours that, you know, you don't get that in a bar. And, you know, I'll say it again, but like entering your mid to late 20s, like, you know, it's a little weirder to make friends just by taking tequila shots or whatever it is 20-year-olds do. I don't know anymore.
You're 30.
But, I'm 30, yes.
I don't even remember what people in their 20s do.
I told you I'm not going to remember college pretty soon. Like it's all
Haley,
it's a
I,
shifting scale.
I think we've uncovered that, Haley, those commercials that you see on like Sunday PGA Tour coverage about memory loss, like you might want to start investing in those pills. Like, I think
you need some like reishi mushrooms or something. Like
we're
some
talking
of
about
that
this
like
5 years
lines
ago.
Well, they're nightshades, so.
Oh,
Just kidding. No, so yeah, I think, you know, it was all timing and place for me. And golf just was a way to exit the routine of Manhattan and break out a little bit of that routine and meet some new friends while I was at it. And, you know, because we'd all started playing at the same time, we were all really into it at the same time too. So it was a fun new hobby, right? It was just, you know, new frontier. And I would say the last thing I really liked about it, and the reason I was okay and still am okay with being a pretty bad golfer, is that I know I'm going to be playing golf now for the rest of my life. And so the joy and like the anticipation of continuously, hopefully getting better. I know that might not be a linear movement. It might be some backward and sideways movements, but you know, the idea that I'll always be playing golf is also really exciting and just another thing to kind of love about the game.
yeah.
Jen, was there anything that you maybe put too much emphasis on before getting started and like thinking it's a big deal, and then you play and you're like, oh, this isn't a big deal?
I actually thought, to go to what Haley said too, you know, that we thought of being terrible as being a bad thing prior, but then once we got older and picked it up again, it was nice to kind of be like starting from square one somewhere and like learning something again, especially something athletic. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of the only sports you can really pick up as an adult, and like there's not as much of a threat of injury, or, you know, like you don't have to find a team to do it with or something like that. You know, you can't just, I'm never going to probably pick up hockey at this point in my life, right? Like that would take a lot more to pick that up. But, you know, I started playing and, you know, would get a little bit better, would take a lesson here and there and get so much better after the lesson that was like thrilling, and had a coach that was like, if I had you and you were a kid, you would have been on the tour. And I was like, Paul, keep it coming. That's what I like to hear.
Said that to you?
Paul, I mean, who knows if it's true? Paul, shout out to Paul. I'll probably send this to him now that I mentioned him. But yeah, like, that type of thing of getting better. And obviously it's easier to get better at something if you're terrible to begin with, the baseline is lower. So that was really exciting kind of, and looking at it like, hey, I can play this for 50 years. Like, imagine how great I'll be at it in 50 years.
Right. Hopefully.
Little did we know. Little did we know. And the other thing too that actually I had always puzzled me working on a golf course was that people would play the same course every day and not get sick of it. And that it made no sense to me. I was like, once you've played it, aren't you kind of just done with it? But it obviously makes a lot of sense to me now because I understand the game a little bit better and how every round is so different.
That's the contrast of like, you can play it forever. Well, I'll put it this way. You guys talked a little bit about, competition and being bad at something as a negative, but then it's like the opportunity to really get good at something and not be in much of a rush because you got 50 years to play. Like,
Right.
It's also really unique to golf.
Yeah. That's
I
great.
think it comes with age, right? It just comes with perspective. When you're a kid, there's no awareness of like the next 5 years or like the next 6 months or whatever it is. You want, it's like that immediate satisfaction factor. And yeah, I think with being a little bit older and entering the game a little bit older, we can just like approach it in a more mature way, right?
Yeah.
I think the interest in golf during the pandemic, I think one thing that's pretty interesting about it is that, it's not immediate satisfaction, right? If you wanted that, you'd play a video game, right? But I think of the 20s crowd and 30s crowd that like really latched on to golf. I mean, all the data is saying that, it's a record year, record number of rounds. That demographic is where a lot of it was at. I wonder if it's like a internal rebellion against like all of our social media and all of this stuff that's kind of holding us. Our jobs are all structured to hold us in front of the screen. We're talking in front of a screen. The pandemic kind of dictates that too. But I wonder if like subconsciously in a way that people that give it a chance, get out there and have that, they're like, oh, I'm outside. I have nowhere to be for 4 hours, but out here and it's kind of peaceful and I just feel better. I wonder how much of that's going on, that like we're like almost evolutionarily going back to our roots of what we need, which is being animals out in the wild.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much research about being outside and how good that is for you, right? And I don't like hike regularly. So there's I ski in the winter. But that's like a completely different type of thing too, and just has a lot more equipment to deal with and, lifts and all that stuff. So I feel like golf is, probably the longest that I'm outside for extended periods of time, doing something active,
Right.
Haley, you mentioned Manhattan, and I think I have a lot of golf friends that ask me why I live in the city, and when golf's like my number one hobby and also my job now. What do you think it is like being a golfer in the city? There's obviously logistical issues, but do you think it's possible that it actually makes you like golf more?
I mean, I certainly think it makes me appreciate it more because when I do find my way to the course, I'm just so happy to be there. And, I think calling out the idea of being in front of screens 24/7, it's like, yeah, you might be on your phone a little bit here and there, but for the most part, you're not. Like, you maybe check it a couple holes at a time or maybe not at all for the entire round. And I just feel like that is so rare for anyone, no matter where you're living in this day and age. But in Manhattan too, yeah, I think it's just appreciating space for me more than anything. Like Manhattan, you're on top of everyone in every direction, whether you're on the subway or, I remember when I first moved to the city, I lived in a fifth floor walk up. So getting up and down with my clubs was an exercise in and of itself. Getting into a cab, getting onto the subway, getting onto the train, it's an ordeal. Like you have to want to play golf in Manhattan, right? Like you can't, it's not for the faint of heart, which is why I appreciate all the girls that do end up coming out to our events in and around Manhattan that are new to golf, because, that's a big hurdle, right? Just to, like the logistics of getting to a course are a hurdle. But yeah, once you're out there, everything sort of goes away. You forget, that you had to wait 20 minutes for a subway to come before you got on, and, you forget all the riffraff to get you where you are. But, yeah, I think it just knowing that you have that time ahead of you, knowing that, for that next couple of hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, depending on where you're playing and the pace of play, just knowing that you have nothing else to do or nothing else to rush back to it. It's not a feeling you get a lot in Manhattan. You don't
Right.
have very many relaxing thoughts or days in Manhattan. So golf is just like the antidote almost to living in the city.
So we're without the namesake founder. Is that, can we call her that?
She is,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
So Kirsten, you guys call her Kiki. But how did Grueter Golf? Well, first I want to know why it was Grueter Golf and not Corcoran Golf or Hillsland Golf. Like what was it about? So give me the rundown. What's the story?
So basically, I forget exactly when the term Grueter Golf came into, our vocabulary, but we said it at one point, and it all was kind of predicated on this fact that, like, when we first started playing, we also were just so entertained by the fact that we were playing golf. Like, it was a fun little, like, performance almost. It was performance art more than it was a sport at that point, because we felt so much like we didn't fit with classical golf, with what we thought was a golfer. We didn't think we like fit that bill. And so we thought that it was so funny that, like, look at us, like we can play golf. Meanwhile, now, like, we think it's really funny that we thought that, because it's like, oh, how revolutionary, like white women playing golf. Like, who saw that coming? Like, went to Boston College, like, fucking
No
idiots.
surprises here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, you guys, like, who saw that coming? But we felt that though. We felt like it was very unexpected. We were all very high strung. We were all very, like, active.
Speak for
And we thought
yourself.
that what?
I'm not
I was in a really good place.
But as a group, we were high strung. We were pretty rambunctious. Okay. I think as a
High
group,
energy.
a high energy group that, golf probably wouldn't be the first sport that you'd pin us as playing.
Yeah.
But we just thought it was so funny. So we then, like, took that to the next level, as we tend to do with things. Okay. Maybe that's me. I tend to take things a few steps too far. And somehow it just came. We were saying, Grueter Golf, like, wouldn't it be so funny if Kiki, at this point too, this is 2016, did not have her own personal Instagram account. And so she was fascinated by Instagram, but she didn't want to get her own for some reason. I don't know whether it was just like,
She didn't want FOMO. She didn't want to see what other people were doing that she wasn't invited to.
yeah,
So she would rather not see any of it at all.
didn't have it, which would make it really bad though, because what she would do is, like, she would get hold of your phone somehow and go on your Instagram and then go back years and like people's photos and not understand like how creepy that looked. Like, she was really, like, similar to someone's mother, like, having access to social media and, like, the weird ways that they use it, being like commenting, just like bad, just not what you want. And you're like, what are you doing? So we said we were going to make her an Instagram account and we were going to call it Grueter Golf. And we at this point too thought that we would probably golf like a few times a year, that it would be a thing that we liked it enough to do it, but would do it a few times and maybe would take a ton of pictures and maybe even change outfits. So it looked like we were doing it more often than we actually were. And that was the concept of Grueter Golf, that, like, it was like just a sham. And it was also in preparation for our 5-year college reunion, because we thought, wouldn't it be hilarious if everybody thought that Kirsten was obsessed with golf now? Like, wouldn't that just be a total 180, like, from a branding perspective? And then, as luck had it, the joke was on us. We all started playing, like, so much, and we all weren't in the same cities either, because, hey, were you in New York at that point?
Yeah, I had just moved to New York from Boston. And then so there's 4 of us, the founding foursome. So the other 3 of us were in Manhattan, but we all had different schedules and spent summers in different places. So, I think Kirsten played 27 rounds of golf that first year, which is insane. And yeah, we all just got the bug, and again, in different ways, in different capacities. But the more we played and the more we posted to Kirsten's Instagram account, which very quickly just became a joint Instagram account. I think Jen was the only one that had access at the beginning. Kirsten didn't even have access. And then
it was a troll account. It was literally just built to troll her completely. Yeah. And I would write the captions, like, in her voice too, but not even her voice, like a fake Kirsten voice that was like, just bringing my clubs to work, because you never know, like, when you're going to be able to, like, practice your putting. And it would be like a picture of her, like, smiling with her golf bag, like, on
in front
her
of her
way
apartment.
somewhere.
I know exactly the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, just stupid stuff like that. And it really, yeah, it just was a total troll. We never thought that it would be that would be here.
But it
Being
caught
interviewed about
on.
it.
But it
Yeah.
caught on with our other girlfriends because the more we posted about playing and playing together, the more our friends, that might have been in the outer circle of our groups of friends, would say, hey, like next time you go, I'd love to come with you, or, just anything, right? It's like, if you go to the driving range, I'd love to come with you. Like it just sort of started spreading like that very naturally. And we hosted our very first event in September of 2017, which we kind of have to say with like air quotes around it, because it was 12, 13 girls that we took out, all of which, are our closest friends in the city. And we thought that was amazing. We were like, this is like the most we'll ever get. Like, these are the most girls will be able to get on a green at once. Like, how amazing is
Yeah, like
this?
13 girls golfing together. Like, can you believe it?
And like, again, like
all of
all
them
white
sucking
girls.
so much.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was the thing. The asterisk really was like 13 non-golfing women like playing
Right.
golf. And I mean, even when it was like a traveling circus. Like every time we would go to a course, even honestly, like not as a huge group, but even as just like the four of us or something, people are always talking to you,
Right.
for
Well, we
one
also
reason or
kind of make
another.
a scene no matter where we go, because we're always like very dressed up for golf, because we got really into the golf fashion. Kind of connecting this back to my earlier days of the game. Golf fashion has come a long way,
Yeah.
thankfully. And I think we all sort of like dove headfirst after that first trip to TJ Maxx, which kind of set off our golf shopping career. We all take our fashion very seriously on the course, and we very much think, if we are looking good, we're probably going to play better than we would have otherwise.
I want to back up to the point where people start joining you,
Yeah.
because, we launched NewClub in 2017, and I remember creating my Instagram account, and I remember following different golf brands, and I remember following you guys like in my first
Oh my God,
wave
thank you so
of stuff.
much.
So
Wow, yeah.
you were obviously doing something right, because it was the algorithm was suggesting it. And I remember getting done with one of our first events, and we had like 50, 60 dudes, all guys, members of NewClub, out to Mistwood. And I remember getting ready to post it, and I did, and I saw that you guys, so maybe this is 2018, this might be 2018, but I remember seeing you guys have one of your events same weekend with like 90.
Oh, that was 2018.
That was
90.
1 year later. That was the same event 1 year fast forwarded, and that was
So
brought us deep joy. Still does.
yeah, and I think that's where you said like, oh, a group of white girls from Boston College playing golf, like who would have seen it coming? I understand that to a degree, but from where I was sitting, that I didn't see anywhere else, right? Like that just wasn't. Yes, I have friends that play golf. I have a lot of friends that have fallen out of love with golf or haven't gotten back into it, and I want to know your guys' opinions on that. But this was clearly different. It was 90 ladies out to play golf together,
Yeah.
So like you tapped into something. So give me like that inflection point.
That was so insane. We were honestly so shocked too, because it was 1 year after we had, the 12 girls out. And we were, every time though it continued to grow. I think it doubled almost every time. So we went from
Yeah.
12 to 24 to right
1 month
around like
later.
40-ish the next spring. And then from spring to fall, we made it to 88. Um, which was just really incredible. And it was people that we hadn't met before too. Up until then it had been, networks basically. So it was, friends of friends and word of mouth and everything. But then we started getting people that were like, oh, I saw you guys on Instagram and that's why I came. And then we were like, oh my God, like that's awesome. Like that's so sick. And I think too, a lot of it, what we heard from a lot of people was I've always wanted to play, but I never knew like how to do it, or I was
Where
like
to start.
intimidated, or I didn't know didn't even know where to begin. And I think that that's kind of what we've offered is like the kind of no judgment, like, hey, we suck too, it's fine, like we're not here to compete, you're not here to network even. I think a lot of women's golf stuff is floated as being like, oh, if you want to be successful at work, you better come out and do this, and that makes it feel like work. And ours was very clearly not work. It's a Saturday shotgun. It's, come as you are, we'll help you rent clubs if you want. You can literally wear whatever. We're doing it in a public course. And you'll have fun. You'll make friends. And I think that was kind of,
I think that's what attracted me to your guys' group in that first post was that like it was about golf in a way. It wasn't saying like, oh, we know golf kind of sucks and there's these things, but there's all this other stuff. You guys were saying like, no, it actually doesn't suck. It's actually pretty fun. Like you should give it a try. And that was different than the groups that I had already been seeing, forming up in Chicago and other places.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the very beginning, our goal has been to show people that there's a different way to play golf and there's different relationships you can have with golf. You can go out and play around with your dad or your grandpa and, be very respectful and quiet and not play music. Or you can go with your girlfriends, drink all day, play loud music, skip a few holes, barely putt. You can do golf a lot of different ways and still enjoy it. You don't have to be really good either to enjoy it. That was always kind of a ringing line that we'd have at all of our events. So yeah, the events very quickly became about exposing new golfers to the game and just showing them how they can have fun without having to be really serious or really good at it.
Yeah. So it has the mission changed at all, right? Your guys' golf has progressed along the way. I'm sure you're different golfers than you were, 4 years ago.
You'd be surprised.
Hopefully, but barely.
Give me a little sense of just how, I mean, obviously the pandemic just wreaked havoc on all of our events, which is a serious bummer. And I'm sure screwed up a lot of plans last year, but what have you guys adapted with, you guys are obviously doing this. And I think it's important to note you guys are doing this at night, moonlighting your passion project, which is awesome. But what has changed for you guys? And is that mission still the same, Haley?
I would say yes. And I would say if anything, we're looking to expand that mission. Very early on, we stuck to the alliteration of getting girls on the green, Grueter Golf, all of that. And, by and large, our mission still is dedicated to getting more women into the game, but it doesn't mean just women. It means really anyone that's been turned away from golf or turned off by golf in one way or another throughout the years. And, that was really, I would say, our biggest takeaway from 2020, because as an events company, you can imagine 2020 was not kind to us, which rewinding back to January of 2020, we thought we were quitting our jobs this past year. And thankfully none of us did because we would have been left high and dry. But yeah, kind of taking a step back and just watching everything that was going on in the world and in America specifically, there's a lot to sort of take in and digest, both personally as human beings, but then also as a brand, and having some sort of platform and some sort of voice in the social square of Instagram. And I think with it, we said we don't need to limit ourselves here, and we don't want to be a girls golf company. We want to be a golf company, period. And one thing that came out of that was the podcast, and that's Jen's baby that I always call it your baby, which sounds
you
weird.
do call it my baby all the time.
All the time. And I never mean to, but then I just say it.
So proud of my beautiful daughter. Low expectations.
But I mean, it is your baby. It's like your pride and joy and our pride and joy. But that was a way for us to stay relevant, right? Like we're an events company, not able to host events, but we still want people to feel connected with Grueter Golf. We still want people to know what we're up to and what we have to say and how we think about golf, but also really about anything tangential to golf or not even associated with it. So that's been a fun way to sort of pivot away from events only, because I think looking ahead, again, we don't want to be a women's golf company or girls golf company. We just want to be a golf company. So, that's going to touch a lot of different areas related to media and all of that. So I would say that's how our mission has changed. It's a very long-winded answer, but I would say we're just widening sort of the umbrella that we're after, and the things that we want to accomplish have widened.
I really like the message of being a golf company, not a girls golf company, because when you really boil it down and all the stuff that you guys are talking about, that like you fell in love with the game, every one of our male listeners is going to listen and relate to that, right? There's a ton that they can't relate to. Don't get me wrong. Like there's a lot of your experience.
They've always had khakis that fit well.
Or they never have, just haven't known it.
Right.
They just haven't cared.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
But I have, that's how I hope, my hope for our brand and NewClub Golf Society is that we can attract women just as we attract men, but not doing anything differently. Now, maybe not differently, but just appealing to that commonality amongst everybody and not having to like specifically, because in the end, if you got to kind of ignore more of those differences because it doesn't matter. Like we all think differently. We all dress differently. We all have these different approaches to the game of golf. But in the end, there's those baseline values about golf that like, oh yeah, being outside and having this enjoyable experience is why I do it. So I love hearing you guys say that. And your podcast is awesome, Jen. Your baby doesn't stink. I will
Doesn't
go
stink.
on record and say it's my new hot podcast for in the golf world.
Wow.
Very much appreciate that.
I
think
had to.
it's
I
been
was
fun.
reaching
We
my
talk a
limit.
lot.
I had to pull out somebody to add you guys in, but you've really
Wow.
been
Wow.
engaging. I think you
Who
guys
did we knock out?
people.
Who do we beat?
I'm not going to go on record for that. No,
Okay,
can't.
fair enough.
Can't blast it. But your show has been really fun, and you guys have it has a ton of personality to it. Your host, your guest, your host is wonderful too, Jen. But
Thank you. Thank you.
your guest, Christine Fraser, is that right?
Oh yeah.
How cool was she?
She was a lot of
So,
fun.
We have a ton of golf course architecture buffs that listen to us. Go listen to Christine Fraser. I really enjoyed that concept. And if you're new to golf course architecture, that's probably the better reason to go listen to her. Like I'm kind of way into that world now, or like I obsess about it a little bit. And I just took a bunch from it. But if I were like new into it, it's a really good listen. So people should check that out.
Appreciate that. Yeah, she was really, really so cool. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about her. And we knew nothing going into it. I think also it's an intimidating golf course architecture sounds a lot more intimidating than it really is. It turns out. I think we definitely learned the most on that episode than any other episode I think we've done so far. We came out of there, we feel smarter now. But she was really, really cool. We've been super lucky with guests, but I think that also goes back to like, we've been really lucky just in general on the Grueter Golf path, like meeting really cool people. That's been just the best part. And so many people, it's just, it kind of ties into our whole story that like golf just surprises you a lot, like people really want to help each other in the golf sphere. We've found, you included, right? We're here tonight chatting with you, friends with you. But people have just been so great to us and we really appreciate that, so it's been nice.
There's a lot of people out there that like want to help others coming up in the industry, but also just want to make golf better themselves, right? Like even for the people that have grown up in the sport and know the sport in one sort of like maybe the stereotypical way, I would say the biggest surprise or sort of like vote of confidence for us is that they still recognize the value in what we're doing and don't see it as a threat, which, not to say that we've gotten that a ton, but, you can understand why maybe some people would think that. So I think that's been the most endearing thing is just to see that there's plenty of people kind of in our corner saying, yeah, like keep doing what you're doing and we'll help you in any way we can, which, did not think that was going to be the case starting Kirsten's Instagram account however many years ago.
Never thought that we would like get into like, anything called the golf world. You know what I mean? Like, because we didn't know there was a golf world even. Like we didn't know anything at all. So it's almost like we just like, fell into this like sinkhole and we're like, wow, there's a whole like world down here. This is insane.
Yeah.
Haley, you mentioned a little bit of the people that are, and there's not a lot of them, so I don't want to like overstate this point, but people that are worried of newcomers, that they might erode the tradition of the game, or they might, by playing music. That's just a very common example you hear, right? If we put speakers in our carts, then bunch of savages are going to be on our golf course and playing shirtless. I don't know, but in my experience, because I'm a traditionalist, if I really have to break it down, like I read golf history books and I love country club weirdness of the tradition, right? The tradition to me does matter, but what I found is that if you don't like close the door and say, all right, you do it a little differently, you're over there, but you say like, oh no, this is how it's done in this arena. And let me tell you why. Like maybe it makes sense and holds water. Maybe it doesn't. And that's what scares a lot of people. So I guess there's no question, but like, would you say, can we win those people over? Because I know you guys are a great example. Bringing you in, you respect all that stuff. You're not trying to take away from any of that.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's like read the room. You know what I mean? Like on both sides, right? Like there's no reason, like we're not going to pull up to a super nice club and start blaring music and like wearing tank tops. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I think anybody who's a reasonable person can kind of just tell like what a place is. And I think that there's just room for both of them, right? So like I'm not going to go to like, the country club in Brookline and act the same way that I do at Franklin Park. The Divine course, which is like the Boston Public course. And like if you're near a group that looks like they're older people that are serious, like yeah, turn down the music, don't yell, right? But if it just depends on where you are,
Yeah.
I was gonna say just off of that, Jen, like there's room for all of it, right? Like there's so many different shades of golf and golfers, and we're not after or we're not trying to ruin golf for whoever wants golf a certain way, right? Like we just want a new way to play and want to show people that there's different ways to play and experience the game. So yeah, I think there's room for all of it, right? I think that's a very diplomatic answer, but very genuine answer.
Yeah, and again, that's not a huge population anymore. I really do think more people want to see new life and new eyes on the game because it's so much more positive is going to come from it than negative.
And I think what you were saying actually on our pod, so listen to that one, everybody. But right after this one, but you were saying something too, which actually makes a lot of sense, ties back to like where the money comes from, right? So at the point at which people who golf a little bit more like us have enough money to make that bigger or, have a club of their own or something, that's really going to be the breaking point, right? And then people can choose which one they'd rather. And then you see who wins there. But right now, I think that most of the money is in the more traditional clubs because the older people and, older mentalities and everything. But I think in our lifetimes, we're going to see some sort of shift where it's like, okay, I can join this club that has, I have to go meet with these random members and impress them. And then they'll either take me or not based on criteria that I'm not, privy to, or I can just sign up for this golf club that's down the street. You can wear whatever you want. They're the same price point. Like, which one do I want? Which one do I want my kids to grow up going to, And I think that that's going to make a difference.
I think we're just going to see more sweetens, right? And things like that are more creative and just outside the box and not fitting that cookie cutter country club. And that is something that we talked about with you, Matt. It was like the difference between a golf club and a country club. And I feel like so often golf is associated with the country club model, which is good and fine, but there's a lot of other different golf clubs out there that exist and probably, to Jen's point, will continue to kind of crop up and change the mentality or the stereotype around it.
It sounds like a really interesting conversation. Someone should tune into that.
It was good.
So I heard something on the Christine Fraser pod that I had thought about like too soon after becoming a girl dad. So and my wife looked at me like, why do you think of these things? So I hope my daughter Eleanor is a golfer. If she's not, I'm going to love her dearly. That's not, I'm not going to be Earl Woods. Hopefully not Earl Woods. You guys.
It pans out though.
Fascinated by Earl Woods.
Fazzy, you guys talk a lot about Earl Woods, but
we talk about it all the time.
I don't want to be Earl Woods. I don't want Eleanor to be Tiger. I want her to be well balanced and love the things she loves. If one of those things is golf, I'll be very happy. But a couple of days after she's born, I thought about, your mind goes to the future. And, when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, I was out there at dusk, sun is setting, playing whatever number of holes with my dad. And it's just such a great memory that I have. And I'm like, man, I wonder if I'll be able to do that with little E, with Eleanor be into that. And what crossed my mind is the course I used to play with my dad on doesn't have a bathroom. And I would always pee in the trees. So Christine Fraser brought that up, right? A female architect thinks of those things. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of this if I didn't have a daughter 3 months ago, but it's just such a profound example of this exclusivity, right? It's exclusive in the event that there aren't general facilities if you're a female.
It's tough. It's embarrassing too sometimes.
Really
in this fall, I was, at a work event and I mean, it was a fun work event, right? So everyone was like, drink with the guys, like I do. And, I had a pee and it was Granite Links too. If any of if your listeners are familiar, I know it's more Chicago based, but Granite Link's like not a lot of trees up there. So I had to go like
No.
off the side of like a cliff kind of thing. Like it's built on like a granite depository. It used to be a dump.
I was gonna say it's built on trash.
Yeah, it's built on trash.
Really nice
but
course, very
there's
beautiful.
rocks everywhere though. So I had to kind of like go off like to the side, and I was just like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Because you have to do that all the time or not drink.
Yeah.
Or not go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you got to
Or-
pick.
It's
Yeah.
what a like terrible experience.
And then it affects your golf game too, because there
Oh,
have been
totally.
times too where I've been like, on the 17th hole or something. I've just been like, I am about to wet my pants.
Right.
You
I'll
like,
skip holes. Like I won't be able to play or finish the round because of it.
yeah. And what can you think of? Yeah, you can't like, never mind swinging a club, but even like thinking about something else, you're just like, I can't do it.
I mean, that's another reason why the 3 6-hole loops is another reason why we like that, because you have 2 opportunities to go to the bathroom. Although we'd probably sprinkle some more in throughout, just
Definitely.
just in case. But
Well, comfort stations.
yeah,
That's what they called them in the olden days.
really.
Yeah.
Well, it's just I thought, wow, what a real example. If you don't think the game is exclusive in that sense, there you have it, like right in front of you. Staying on the example of young children. So if you guys don't have kids, I don't believe.
Not yet.
I don't think so.
If
Hope not.
you get there and you have a daughter, I'm asking this question selfishly. What advice would you give that 11-year-old who's thinking about being a golfer?
Well, I have a question. Does she want to be the golfer? Or are you trying to encourage her?
Yeah, let's say it's that time you're like, Dad, I think I'd like to play some golf. What advice would you guys give that child?
I would say take it one swing at a time, because as a 30-year-old, I still need to remind myself of that. And that, one bad swing is not going to ruin the round. It's not going to ruin your relationship with golf. It's, all part of the journey. There's going to be probably a lot of twists and weaves, and I said earlier, it's not going to be linear. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, much like life. So maybe it's a good time to tell her at 11 years old to get ready. So yeah, that would be my advice. Not being a parent, actually just really put me on the spot. I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to say to
I'm
any
genuinely thinking of like an 11-year-old, specifically golf information too, because I don't have that much myself. And like my specialty really is, women 10 years older than that. I'd say probably make sure you're wearing an outfit with pockets, because you might be swindled into wearing one that doesn't have pockets. And then golf requires pockets. You need to have, so often if I'm wearing certain outfits, I don't have like a ball marker with me. I have to stick tees into my hat, and then I take it off, they fall all out.
You need a breakfast ball on you.
So yeah, I might just give like a really, piece of tactical knowledge, which is just make sure that you have pockets. But then that made me think that hopefully 10 years in the future, we'll be living in the heyday of women's fashion when everything has pockets. Because that's really for everything.
Yeah.
Like so many dresses don't have pockets. So many women's pants. Like, I don't know what this whole thing is.
They're decorative.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah. Bring back cargo pants for women.
Or fanny packs.
What about fanny packs? I was about to ask.
Fanny packs are good. Yeah, those work.
I told I'll never live it down. Mark, our co-founder, he showed up on one of our early rounds. He's a lifelong golfer who was a beginner in a sense. He was beginning playing with other people, which was interesting. He grew up playing a little 9-hole golf course basically every day after school by himself. So he could do whatever he wanted. He didn't watch golf on TV. He just had his own little world of golf, which is like fascinating to think about, because he had an unbelievable golf game, but had never played with anybody. So I started like dragging him out. He's much more introverted. And one of the first rounds, he's wearing a fanny pack. And then this next round, he's still wearing the fanny pack. And I think the third round was at like a private club. And I go, hey, we got to lose the fanny pack. And he's like, why? And like, it was one of those examples of, tradition saying, well, like, you just don't do it. Like, you got some pleated khakis you can put on, and, but he's a stylish cat too. Like, he dresses way better than I do, or pretty much anyone else I've ever hung out with. So he raised great questions. Like, well, I don't agree with you at all, and I'm going to wear my fanny pack. So
he doubled down on the fanny pack.
He doubled down on the fanny pack, and nothing ever came as a result. No negative outcomes. I mean, he just rocks the fanny pack.
Hey, they're in style right now too. They're having a moment.
Yeah, we got fanny packs for Christmas from 4A.
Yeah,
and they're really cool. I'm gonna wear it a lot actually.
I use it. I've been taking it to the course when I play. It's great. It's honestly the best because I don't want to take a purse to the course. I don't need a purse, but I just need a few things that don't fit in my pocket.
Chapstick.
Yep. Sunscreen.
Big time.
Yep.
Pro fanny bag. Did you mentioned Foray? We love the brand, or our female members do, and we are putting some in the shop this year. What other brands are you guys fans of right now?
Ooh, I also just wanted to say that I did notice the one of the jackets that you have that's a Foray jacket in your shop. Beautiful. That black and white like bomber number. I forget exactly what it is,
Pretty
but
dope.
ladies, if you're
The Sherpa one,
listening,
right?
you better snag that quick because that's nice.
That might be the most stylish
Oh,
piece
and
we've
the
ever
Sherpa
had.
one though too. There are two in there. One I actually
Oh.
own. One I already own. Then one is like a neoprene like
Oh,
almost
I
like
know
a
what you're talking
club
about.
jacket type thing. But I have the Sherpa black and white checkered from Foray. They don't pay us either. I'm just this passionate about it. I like haven't taken it off. Haley can attest to the fact that it's been
Yeah.
on me on like all of our clothes. I mean, all of our calls. Other brands. I like actually looking outside of golf brands too, sometimes
Yeah.
for golf clothes. Just because like so many things can really do double duty. Athleta does great stuff. Even like, like lots mock neck t-shirts are very in right now, and you can get those from pretty much anywhere. And that's like a really kind of chic look. I mean, I do like Adidas stuff, footwear,
Yeah,
especially.
I love their shoes. I was gonna say them. Yeah, Athleta makes great pants that you can do double duty, and they're not leggings, so they're great, and they do have pockets.
Yeah, it's tough
Honestly,
because
like,
everything is just like so expensive too.
I know
We get asked
the
this
good stuff
question
is
a lot, and like you feel kind of, you don't want to be a jerk. Like, obviously, we love Foray, but it is expensive. It's
Mhm.
worth it, but it's not like you're not gonna buy a brand new wardrobe of Foray stuff all in one fell swoop. It's more like you collect pieces at a
Over
time. I just ordered some stuff that's coming in next week. Sorry, you like opened Pandora's box. But I just
Guys,
ordered
it's
from a
golf
company.
pod. It's not a golf fashion pod.
Have you guys heard of Manners Golf out of England?
No.
Okay, I've been like obsessed with their Instagram for months now, and I finally pulled the trigger and bought a sweater vest from them that's going to match a skirt that I have. And all of their stuff really fascinates me, especially because they use like male and female models. So all the stuff is like, I think, gender neutral in some sort of very chic way that like you just don't see in golf ever. So I've actually shortlisted them for a pod
Nice.
appearance, but I don't know if they're going to say yes or not.
For the listeners, it's MANORS, Manners.
Yeah,
Manners.
it's very chic branding.
Very chic.
Very cool. This is a heavy hitter question, and then we'll dive in some more lighthearted stuff. But I read one of your core beliefs on the website is those who have historically been marginalized in the golf world should be invited to play. It gave me a pause because I've thought one thing NewClub needs to work on is being more inviting. We have our criteria, we have our values, and we need people to meet those before they get accepted to be a part of us, part of the golf society. But I thought we could be more inviting. So my question is, how do you actively approach that issue, the invite?
That's a good question. It's hard because I think with our stuff too, we kind of tried to make it so that like actively like in the branding for our events, we'll say like we want you to come. Like, and that means you, even if you've never played golf before, even if you never thought about golf before, like you are invited, and just like being explicit about that. And I think it's still something we're like trying to figure out too, especially as it relates to like, Black, Indigenous people of color. Because like we said before, a lot of it at the beginning was just word of mouth. And then that makes it, self-select based on who's saying it to whom. Right. And so you don't have as much control over that part. So what are the ways that we can just be more explicit through our social media channels, which is kind of tough because we're not taking any new pictures right now. And we're not, like, we're resharing things, I think, that maybe aren't things that people will see on your average golf Instagram account. And I think that that's one thing that we can do. Just be very clear about who we are and what we believe. Because I think one of the things that we took away from this year was like, if you're not explicitly saying something, that it's implied that you think something different almost, so
Right.
if you're not actively saying like, we are an anti-racist organization, or we're trying to be, and we believe there should be more people of color playing golf, you know, a lot of organizations are not saying that. So I think even just by saying it, you're, you know, doing at least something. Is that enough? I don't think so yet. But I think as we get into the event season, I hope that this year will be a lot different in terms of who's coming to events. Because, you know, we're just trying to kind of work the back channels, network in a different way, and just kind of be more intentional about what we're doing. Because I think that's been a lesson of, you know, our whole experience with Grueter Golf is just like, you know, getting more intentional with every milestone. So yeah, but it's tough though. It's hard.
I mean, I definitely would say we're figuring it out, and we haven't really entered the height of our events, which will really pick up in May or June, May and June. Assuming that, you know, we can host events and do so safely and all of that. So, you know, it's one of those things that I just hope that will be better over time. And I think, like Jen said, the first step is talking about it and being deliberate about how we talk about it and making it known and saying it out loud, putting it on our website, talking about it in the podcast, you know, putting it on our social channels to the extent that we can. And then, you know, there will probably be some trials and errors and all of that, like as time goes on. But I think at the end of the day, we're just going to try harder to make that happen, as opposed to, you know, more passively accepting whoever comes to our events as those being the only people that want to play golf. You know, there's obviously more people out there than the ones we've seen. So
that's really well said, and something I think we could continue to partner up on, you know, with you guys in a way, because we focus on a difference. In my mind, we focus on a different segment where you guys are so welcoming and inviting to beginners, to early golfers. NewClub's not, and I've come to grips with that, right? Like, grow the game, maybe not NewClub. Like, we're taking existing golfers and giving them something really cool and special to be proud of and a part of. For us, it's how do we find diverse groups that just love golf in that way, because they're there. I mean, they're there.
But
It's
there's
just,
so many.
yeah.
There's so many different like cool brands and cool groups. And I think, you know, I think that, yeah, they're just more than you'd know. And so many of them are doing like a really great job, like education and stuff. Like we're friendly with All Access Golf, out of New York. And they've every day this month for Black History Month have posted like a different story about a different individual, within, you know, the golf Black history. And like the more you know too, kind of the more I think you get, you know, like a little bit upset about things. And then the more upset you get, if you're me, especially, the more active you get. And I think so getting people like a healthy level of upset, especially when we didn't know anything about golf history in general, you know, like barely kind of had like the big names down, right? But then to learn kind of, you know, especially like around the Masters and everything, that, you know, it wasn't until 1976 that they allowed a Black man to play in the Masters. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's really bad.
and even then he was like,
You got death threats and everything.
I was gonna say a security detail. He had to move houses.
Yeah, like, you know,
like,
so I think, I mean, what we've kind of seen too is that a lot of people in the golf world have a problem even acknowledging that there might still be a problem, and kind of using the whole kind of like, you know, like the ball doesn't know what color you are. And it's like, okay, well, you know, everyone else does,
I was gonna
right?
say, everyone around the ball knows.
So, yeah, like the ball doesn't do a lot of things, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's a strange time, but I think it'll be, again, kind of to go back to what we were talking about before. I think like in our lifetimes, we're going to see some like a shift, that will hopefully be pretty meaningful. And I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And multiple groups coming at it from every angle, you know, the people that are blazing the trail, as well as the ones that are sitting there in some positions of power and influence already. I think we're starting to see it. So that's good. You guys have organized some golf events for other organizations. One in Chicago, Kellogg Business School. Is it?
That's right.
That's a deep cut.
That is. I was like, who in Chicago?
So what's your approach to those events? And can I get your services for NewClub one time this year?
I mean, yes, absolutely. We, you know, we've long talked about the potential opportunity in tapping into business schools and even like big corporations that want to host not even female only outings, because the one for Kellogg was co-ed, but, you know, want to host fun young events with a different spin on golf. And the one with Kellogg came about because we had a couple of friends that one we had gone to college with, another one we knew through mutual friends from New York City, and they were part of the golf club at Kellogg and wanted to throw a spring outing, which I think they do every year, to be fair. But being the good friends they are, they're like, let's reach out to Grueter Golf and we'll kind of collab and co-brand it. And unfortunately, we actually did have to rain check it due to the weather, so we weren't able to be there in person. But they're all business school kids, so they know how to really do a lot of things pretty
They're
well.
so organized. It's wild.
They're the most organized. It was actually a good lesson for us of how to stay really organized in planning an event. We learned just as much from them. But
a spreadsheet.
yeah, exactly. Right. But no, it was all in all a pretty easy event to put on. Like, we sent them all the goodie bags that they'd give to everyone. And actually, you know what? One thing we were fascinated by, and we're still trying to tap into this, their ticket sales sold out within minutes. Like, we put the tickets live and within 2 hours, everything was, and we're like, we're selling tickets up until the day before an event, usually day of as well. What did they do? How do they get that? And, we still haven't really cracked that code, but hopefully
this is the year.
Yeah. 2021.
Did looking back, do you think, you mentioned it was really important to have other early golfers on your journey, right? The support of the journey. Looking back, do you think it was equally important or important that they were female? Or do you think could Grueter Golf be doing what it's doing if it were also co-ed in a way? And I know you guys have done some of those, but is it possible, or did it need to be female only to succeed?
I mean, it's tough to say whether it would have worked out just the same if it had been co-ed, but there is something that's very special about the women only events that we still host. There's just a different energy to it. And I think, maybe it's because the sexual tension is removed to some degree. We obviously have, LGBTQ people at all events. So it's not, it's never completely gone. Always a little bit of sexual tension to make a good event, right?
You gotta have a little bit.
But I think, the female events come and it's just friendlier for some sort of reason, because it's just girls trying to make friends with one another. And I think that's because that's what we purport to, we're
Right.
founded by four best friends, so that's fed into what our company became. It's you come here to make a friend to golf with. And yeah, it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is. I think also guys have a harder time looking bad in front of girls at things. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. And I would almost say that it's not necessarily the male versus female, because yes, the female only events are awesome. And there is something really special and intangible to what goes on there. But I would also say the difference is between beginner and more seasoned golfers, because typically at our co-ed events, all the males have played a number of rounds and know their way around the golf course and are probably golfers themselves. Whereas the women that are still coming to those events, for the most part, we do have a wide range of skill levels, but, we attract beginner females. So, we still have that mismatch then, right? And then that goes into all the reasons why we didn't like golf and why we didn't pick it up early in our lives, because we didn't want to play with people that were really good. And we didn't find, our confidence or, the low expectations in other parts of our lives when, we were playing with people that were better than us. So I think a lot of what our secret sauce is taking down those barriers of having to look good in front of people. And Jen, absolutely right. Guys don't like looking bad in front of females, but no.
Yeah, I feel like the likelihood of getting a bunch of guys who are really shitty at golf to come to a co-ed event to learn with women. I've never seen that before.
I know. Yeah, it'd be great if they did.
Yeah, that'd be another first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think that's some of it. You think about kind of, even Tin Cup or something, and that creepy man teaching woman narrative, getting behind her and basically grinding with her. You know what I mean? That's what we've always kind of tried to be the antithesis of. We're the opposite of your boyfriend yelling at you on a golf course.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get me wrong. The co-ed events are a lot of fun.
Oh my God, they're so fun.
Yeah.
It's also fun, really.
Right. No, and those will continue to be part of our DNA. We do a handful of both, obviously catering more towards women, but the co-ed events are a lot of fun. They're just different. It's a completely different vibe. the people that come out have different expectations. I want a word count on how many times I've said that in this episode.
A lot of expectations.
But no, I mean, it's
Did
true.
I
though.
mention our expectations should be low?
Yes, exactly. And I really hammer that home. But yeah, and I again, because we ourselves are new to golf and we've been in these shoes and to a lot of it, in a lot of ways we still are. You know, when I play around with three guys, it's very different than when I play around even with another couple and, you know, half and half. Like the vibe is just different no matter what. And, you know, I think it's great for females to feel empowered and willing to go play with three guys. But I also think it's really special to be able to kind of create the space where they don't have to and they can play with other girls that, you know, are, like I said, different skill levels, whatever it may be. But there's something really, really special, I think, about the girls only that I don't think we'll ever lose sight of.
Yeah,
It's an incubator.
I have polled our female members on, you know, some things that we could do better. One suggestion has been, and I've struggled with it, frankly, and why I asked the question is female only tee times. You know, we have our events and our trips and all that, but I've really struggled to say, like, do we make anything only tee time? Do you know what I mean? Like, does that, you know, why can't we just organize it? Why does it have to be kind of dictated that this is the time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, a part of the strength of that is like the ability to pee in the woods though, you know?
Yeah.
Like if I hadn't been like, I've been working with my coworkers for like 8 years now, you know what I mean? Like we know each other really well. I felt comfortable enough saying to him, hey, I have to go pee in the woods right now. But like if I were with three guys that I didn't know, I probably would have had to hold it. And then I would have slowly gotten a little bit more, you know, pissy, no pun intended. And I might have started playing more poorly and like nobody would know why because I would be too embarrassed to be like, I'm sorry, I just didn't want to like pull my pants down over there like when I don't know
10 yards away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like so I think like it's not just I think there are a lot of different things that go into like the strength of having, you know, maybe offering a female only tea time or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's maybe it's baby steps too of like getting to the point where frankly guy or male members actually understand that, like, hey, it is really brutal if there's not a restroom on, you know, this 9.
Maybe you can write that into like, do you send out some sort of confirmation email or
yeah,
something?
we do. Yeah,
so you can be like, by the way, if you're playing with a female, like she needs to know that it's okay if she needs to go pee in the woods in front of you, kind of.
Yeah.
That's a way to be proactive about it.
We'll work on the
That's
language.
free information, Matt. You can just use that one. We won't
it.
charge you.
We'll work on the language.
Okay.
So let's get to the questionnaire. I don't want to. It's not a short questionnaire, so I need to.
Oh, okay.
Allot time. And I knew we weren't going to crack under 2 hours with you guys. It's always too much fun. But this is something that was inspired by your podcast. You guys have standing questions, and I have always kind of toiled with this idea that I call the 19th soul, because it's standardized questions that we can ask all of our guests. And it was adapted from 35 questions from Marcel Proust, who is the French novelist of the 20th century, very influential guy.
Of course.
His questions attempted to reveal the truest nature of an individual. Our questions are trying to reveal the soul of the golfer. So Haley, Jen, are you guys ready?
I hope so.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know.
Wait, were you a philosophy major?
I should have been, but
Okay.
no.
I was.
So you know this guy.
I might know all these answers.
You might already. Doubt it. Do you guys want to? They're fun. Do you guys want to do alternate shot? Do you want to do a front 9, back 9 scenario? What would you like?
What would you recommend?
Yeah,
based on the questions. I don't know what the flow is going to be like. So I mean, alternating shot might be good.
I like alternating shot.
Okay, alternate shot. So we'll start with Haley. Number 1, when were you the happiest as a golfer?
Ooh. I was really happy this summer when I broke 100 for the first time.
Happy moment.
That was pretty exciting.
Jen, number 2, what's the scariest golf shot?
The scariest golf shot is the 7th hole at my home course of Ocean Edge in Brewster, Massachusetts, where you're hitting over a bog and your ball goes in there a lot of times. and then you have to get another one. And if it's one that you really like and you've been playing well up until that 7th hole and you're feeling pretty good and you feel like you're going to maybe not, lose at that time, and then you lose it, that's pretty tough. That's a hard shot.
Haley, what is your go-to order at the halfway house?
Big hot dog girl.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't beat. It's just classic.
Yeah, and it always just hits the spot, even if I am like approaching the halfway house and being like, I don't really want that today. Also, a good PB&J. You don't see enough PB&Js out there, but that would also be my second go-to if they have it.
Jen, what is the trait you most deplore in your golf game?
The volatility. I rage. I have a lot of like very aggressive tantrums. I've learned how to quell them quickly, but I need to let it out a little bit somehow, and then I just like take a breath and I'm okay. That's a new thing, the being okay part. But yeah, definitely just like my temper, and I think sometimes my high expectations for myself.
Read Zen Golf. Oh, that's a plug of a friend's book, but you should read Zen Golf.
I thought about it.
Number 5, Haley, what is the quality you most look for in a playing partner?
Someone who is not going to give me tips. Because I need them. I need a lot of them, but I don't want them.
Just not from whoever I'm playing with. Jen, what is the trait you most deplore in other people's golf games?
Giving me tips, definitely. When I didn't ask for them.
Right,
Unsolicited advice, especially when you're setting up or when you've already set up or like right after you've done something wrong, is just like probably the most condescending thing you can do, because a lot of times I know what I did wrong.
Right.
And I don't need you to tell me. And what I say to people generally, my nice way of telling them to shut the fuck up is I actually have this policy where I only take advice from PGA professionals. So unless are you one of those? And then they'll usually say no. And then I'll say, okay, then thank you.
And walk off.
And then I'll punch them in the face. Just kidding. Never done that.
Haley, number 7, what words or phrases do you most overuse on the golf course?
When it's breezy, take it easy.
Oh, that's a good one to overuse.
Gaining on them.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely
a better answer. We say gaining on them for any shot that like hovers below 5 feet. like it's maybe putters a little bit in front of you, or maybe goes a little bit further than that. It doesn't matter really the distance. It's just the height of the ball, and then that's immediately a gainer.
It's the right direction. We're getting there.
The right direction. Yeah.
Jen, number 8, what golfing talent would you most want to have?
I would love to just every time I went up to the tee, I just like fairway, beautiful drive every single time. Is that hard?
Control of the, no, that's a great one. I think a lot of people would agree with you there. Haley, what is your most treasured golf possession?
Ooh. Shoot, that's a hard one.
That's so hard.
Well, it's also hard because right now most of my belongings are in storage in New Jersey. So I haven't seen a lot of my things for a while.
Haley.
Actually, yeah, I might take that, because that is a joint gift. That's from Danielle King, the famed sequined marble dress that Danielle King gifted to us.
Oh, I listened to that one. That's the dress. It arrived.
There it is. Yeah.
I've been displaying it proudly.
Wow.
It's going to be sistered of the traveling pants type thing. So we'll just all share it. It's probably going to be a t-shirt on me, but I'll say that because it is a joint gift.
Awesome. That's a pretty good one. A gift from Danielle King is pretty sweet. Jen, we just made the turn. What's the one thing in your golf bag you should throw out?
Oh my God, like literally everything.
It's a perfect question for you.
My golf bag is right over there. I'm like tempted to look inside of it. I keep so many random scorecards in there, not even good ones. Just like there will just be one in there. I'm like, oh, I need to put that in the box where I keep all of my scorecards, but I just leave them in there sometimes. And pencils. I don't know why I have so many tiny pencils in there. They're at every course. You can always get another one, but I have about like 4, and then they poke me in the fingers when I'm digging around for something.
I know that feeling. Oh, it's
bad. It's so dumb.
Right under the nail sometimes.
I'm going to do that right after this. Take them all out.
Will you just do a display eventually? Is that your goal, or are you just keeping them in your bag?
There's no goal. I'm an artist, so it can be anything. Who knows what I'll do with them?
Haley, number 11. What is your favorite occupation at the golf course?
I would say the person at the turn. Is that what you mean, like the person working at the golf course?
Yeah, yeah.
I would say the person working at the turn, because it's always really nice, no matter what kind of round you're having, is to go in there and see a friendly face. I'm thinking of the woman, and I'm forgetting her name, but at Garden City Golf Club out in Garden City. She was always just such a pleasure to see, and she was so sweet, and I just love that.
Good answer. Number 12. Jen, have you ever asked another golfer for their autograph?
I don't think I've ever asked for an autograph. I've also not been to too many PGA events. But at one time though, I did steal something. This doesn't count, but this is the closest thing that I have to an autograph. I was at a pro-am for at TPC Boston, and we followed Tiger Woods all day when it was like 100 degrees, right before Labor Day weekend. And he was eating an Uncrustable at one point, which I had also been eating earlier in the day. So I was like, we are the same. This is amazing. And he dropped the wrapper at one point, and I snuck under the ropes, and I went and I got the Uncrustable wrapper that he had been eating from and touching. So I didn't ask him for it, but I did take it.
And she still has it.
I don't know where it is recently, but it's somewhere. It's like I didn't lose it. I didn't throw it out, but like it's just misplaced.
That's a good one. I've never gotten that response to that question.
That shocks me.
Haley, what historical golf figure do you most relate to?
Oh, geez. Let me think about that one. Yeah, I'm getting the hard-hitting ones, I feel.
Those are hard.
Historical golf figure. I might just like throw, this is kind of like a cop-out, but Alice Dye, just because she's like, in a league of her own, and coming off the Christine Fraser episode, getting deeper into the golf course architecture. I don't know if I am similar to her by any means, but I like what she was doing and what she's after. So, and
she did a lot, which is pretty.
Exactly.
That's a pretty darn good answer. Jen, number 14. What is your greatest golf regret?
Greatest golf regret. Oh my God. I've had some maybe fashion faux pas that I wore incorrect clothing at certain times, but honestly, I've never passed up a round. I've never passed anything up. And so I can pretty safely say I don't have any huge regrets because I've kind of jumped at every opportunity.
Well, what about just not playing until we were 25?
Oh my God. Oh, that's an easy one. That almost goes without saying that it's just, that we didn't start sooner. I say this to children all the time whenever I see them. If I,
that would be the advice to
my advice to your 11-year-old daughter when she's 11 is get started, sister. And also don't take any shit from anybody and don't stop once you do.
Number 15, Haley, what is your favorite hole in golf?
I love a par 3. And I don't know if you want a specific hole. I'm just going to say
you can describe a specific type of hole. You can describe a specific hole.
I don't know. I've been around. I've been a lot of places this year. Been moving around a lot. So I'm not going to say a specific hole, but I will say I love a par 3. Maybe one with water in it or some sort of, hazard, but I love par 3s because no matter what I'm doing in the round that day, I step up to the tee box and say, this could be the one where I make a hole in one. And then I usually top it. Yeah. But that's always my optimism approaching the tee box and approaching the par 3. And I also just like it because it's always a little bit of a break, and it feels a little bit more fun than coming off of, a par 5 or a par 4 or whatever it is. A par 3 is just a nice little surprise in the middle of the round.
I don't even want to say it because I think we're on a stretch here. Everyone says a par 3.
Really?
Yes.
Damn.
Yes. Fascinating. I never would have guessed that. Number 16, Jen, what is your least favorite hole in golf?
Oh my God. Probably hole 7 at Ocean Edge.
That's a good answer.
Honestly,
force carries with too much penalty.
Force carries are absolutely haunt me because the thing is, especially I know that I can get it that distance. I know it, and it's something about like, I mean, it's my brain, it's my psychosis that I have. It's just like I get so in my own head that it hinders me. So yeah, anything with a force carry just like makes me nauseous.
We're closing stretch. Number 17, Haley, one song to listen to on the golf course for the rest of your life. What is it?
Jen knows his answer.
No, I
The
thought of a joke
Freshman.
answer that I can't like. We were merely freshmen.
I mean, it's a banger. It's a good song.
What's the title of that? Why am I?
It's called The Freshman by
By the
Verve Pipe.
Oh.
Is it?
Oh yeah, I like it.
It's
Is
kind
that,
of an
wait,
inside
Haley,
joke.
is that your answer?
That's not your answer. You can give another answer.
I don't know. I'm so bad when it comes to music. I don't know. We've been listening to a lot of Kings of Leon on the golf course lately. I feel like that's just like a
Oh,
nice
Bryson.
vibey. What's
Yeah.
up?
Bryson.
Oh yeah,
You see that
Bryson's-
Bryson promo where you're just
right.
like on the plane and listening to like "Be Somebody."
Okay, well, fuck. I don't want
You want me to
that.
sing more, you
Hey Jen,
guys?
you're kind of the production mind. Can you do a video on Instagram of Haley getting on a private jet to that song
No, it would be her flying commercial, like shoving her tall body into coach
with her
like,
holding her ninth golf camp 9-year-old
No,
trophy?
I'm going on a flight on Saturday, which will be my first flight in a year. It feels very foreign, but I could workshop something in there.
Well, you owe me
Please
a
do
bunch of
this.
content anyway because I'm gonna be making a promo video for Haley in general,
Yeah.
about her journey. So
That it needs to be part of it.
we're gonna need some footage.
All right, I'm on it.
All right, number 18, closing stretch. Jen, I feel like this was perfect, teed up for you. You were supposed to be in this spot, the
Uh-oh.
closer. If you had a motto, what would it be?
Fast and loose. I think we got to go with
Clean and
fast and
dirty.
loose.
Well, what about your namesake motto?
Oh, I mean, I do have a personal slogan, which is Jen for the weekend, Jen forever. I can tell by your face. Yeah, it's not supposed to be immediately obvious what it means. And it's like a little bit avant-garde, and then it means something different to everybody. But
It's a philosophy major.
so I just invented it one day, my freshman year of college. It doesn't really mean anything, but like a lot of my favorite things are just kind of absurdist, and that, people read whatever meaning into everything anyway. So if you just say something like that, like, oh, Jen for the weekend, Jen forever, people are like, oh yeah, all right. Like,
People love
sure.
it.
That's gonna
when
be
my,
like running through my mind. I'm gonna wake up out of a cold sweat tonight. Like, Jen for the week, Jen for the whatever. What does it mean? What does it mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean? I think it means that, like, you're for the weekend. So like obviously working for the weekend, I used to especially live for the weekends, just not just because of the lack of work or lack of school or what have you, but just the general freedom that it presents, the opportunity there.
I'm with you.
And forever. Who doesn't love forever?
Oh my God. Gotta wrap this up.
Now,
Yeah, we need to be done.
We've reached our limits. Guys, thank you. Grueter Golf. We got a lot of listeners in Chicago and Atlanta. So is there plans to expand outside New York and New England? And if so, or how can those members, look you guys up?
Yeah, so we do have a membership option in Chicago. But we want it to be clear, you do not need to be a member to attend our events. That's open to really anyone and everyone. The membership is more geared towards, and we've talked about this, Matt, but like it's geared toward the beginner golfers that are starting to take it a little bit more seriously, want more access to, different opportunities to play, different girls to play with. Probably like the precursor to NewClub or joining NewClub, if you're thinking of it on a spectrum. But yeah, we've had big plans to get to Chicago for a number of years now. My family lives in Chicago, so that's my home base when I am going home. And we had big plans in 2020, obviously had to skirt those. So we hope to be coming back in the fall. I think we've outlined, or like, I don't think we have a specific date, but we've circled the fall as a targeted date to make our appearance in Chicago. But until then, we're going to have the weekend warm-up series at 5 Iron Golf, which is the first Friday of every month. So that's actually kicking off in March. So March 5th is the first Friday in Chicago that will offer that. And then we'll continue to do, things with 5 Iron to kind of get us through the winter months in Chicago. And then, yeah, we'll keep an eye out for something outdoors maybe late summer, early fall is I think what we're aiming for.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
Awesome. Well,
eyes are definitely on Atlanta for the future too. Atlanta is one of our favorite cities collectively, I think. Um, and really love it there. Would love to do some events down there. And we'll also have a virtual offering that anybody can attend coming up this spring. So when this episode comes out in March, we'll already have had the first one, but it's going to be Grueter Golf Sunday service, which will be a virtual, it's tough to call it a clinic. I think it's more of just kind of like a vibe.
A virtual worship.
It'll be a virtual worship of golf, we're holding in partnership with 5 Iron Golf.
in
It'll be an
Kanye
hour and a
West.
half, with
Yes.
some sort of instruction, but less of a focus on, beginner clinic and more kind of on, fundamentals and things that can appeal to all levels. Also with a nice little fun Q&A from us at the end.
What's
Awesome.
not to love?
Awesome. Well, congrats on all the success, guys. Keep rocking. We love the support, and hopefully we'll all be playing golf at some point, right? So if you do make it over
Definitely.
to Chicago this year, let's tee it up.
Let's
For
do
sure.
it.
Thanks for
guys.
having us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
fun.
thank
Enjoyed
you.
it.
That
Talk
was
to you soon.
fun.
All right. Thank you.